Herodotus famously called Egypt the gift of the Nile. But as we approach 2026, that ancient gift is being choked. For the first time in 5,000 years, a power upstream controls the tap. This massive structure, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, is a source of immense pride for Ethiopia. As they celebrate their new electric empire, Egypt, downstream, calls it an existential threat. Looking at these satellite images, you can see the potential impact on the Nile Delta. Is this just a modern dispute over energy and water rights? Or is it the dramatic climax of an ancient rivalry that dates back to the time of the Pharaohs? This is the Nile Relic. To the ancient Egyptians, the Nile wasn't just a river. It was a god named Hapi. Its annual flooding was a divine event, depositing rich silt that made their civilization possible. They believed its flow was a sacred promise. Yet, they always harbored a deep fear of the unknown south, the mysterious highlands where the river's journey began. Ancient records reveal pharaohs who threatened to march their armies into what was then known as Ethiopia. The life-giving waters ever stopped. It was a primal fear, a recognition that their entire existence depended on a force they couldn't control at its source. For millennia, the Egyptians developed sophisticated ways to monitor their lifeline. One of the most incredible relics of this obsession is the Nilometer. These were ancient stone pillars, often built into temple walls or staircases leading down to the river, with markings carved into them. These markings weren't just for show. They were a critical tool of state. By measuring the height of the annual flood, the priests and rulers could predict the success of the coming harvest. A high water level meant a bountiful year and full granaries. A low water level meant famine, social unrest, and potential collapse. For centuries, these stones predicted the wealth or starvation of an entire empire. The fate of millions was written on these pillars. Today, those ancient stones are being replaced by digital sensors and satellite data, all focused on a single, massive concrete wall, hundreds of miles away in Ethiopia. The principle, however, remains exactly the same: measuring the flow to predict the future. Fast forward to the 21st century, Ethiopia, a nation with a rich history of its own, has just completed the largest hydroelectric project in all of Africa. The GERD is a staggering feat of engineering, a $5 billion symbol of national pride and self-reliance. For Ethiopia, this dam is not about geopolitics. It's about progress. It represents the dream of lifting over 60 million people out of darkness, of powering industries, and of securing their own economic future. They see the rain that falls on their highlands as their sovereign resource, one they have the right to harness for their own development. But for Egypt, this project isn't a symbol of progress. It's seen as a potential death sentence. Egypt is one of the most water-scarce countries on Earth. An astonishing 97% of its fresh water comes from the Nile. Its entire population of over 110 million people lives clustered along the river's banks. The idea of another nation controlling the flow of this essential artery is not just a concern. It's a national security crisis of the highest order. The tension escalated dramatically as Ethiopia began filling the dam's massive reservoir. The recent catastrophic floods in neighboring Sudan, which some analysts link to the dam's operations, have only deepened the mistrust. Years of negotiations, mediated by international bodies, have collapsed. Legal agreements are in tatters. Cairo and Addis Ababa are locked in a stalemate, with neither side willing to back down from what they see as their fundamental rights. This isn't just a story about two countries. The ripples of this conflict spread across the globe, drawing in major world powers. It's a complex web of geopolitics, colonial history, and modern ambition. To understand the present, we have to look at the past. The core of Egypt's legal argument rests on what are often called the colonial treaties. Agreements from 1929 and 1959, brokered primarily by Great Britain. These treaties granted Egypt and Sudan veto power over any upstream projects and allocated the lion's share of the Nile's water to them, leaving Ethiopia with virtually nothing. Egypt sees these treaties as legally binding historical rights. Ethiopia, on the other hand, dismisses them as relics of a colonial era they were never party to. They argue that it is absurd for a nation where 85% of the Nile's water originates to be denied its use based on century-old deals. The United States has tried to mediate, wary of instability in a critical region. China has provided financing and technical support for projects across Africa, including in Ethiopia, shifting the balance of power. The Arab League has sided firmly with Egypt, viewing its water security as a matter of regional stability. In 2026 and beyond, water is the new oil. This isn't just a dam. It's the flashpoint for what could be the world's first major climate war, a conflict over dwindling resources disguised as an energy project. The Nile has seen empires rise and fall for 50 centuries. It has witnessed the construction of the pyramids and the fall of pharaohs. It has been the source of life and, at times, the cause of death. Its waters carry not just silt, but the weight of history. Now, as the water levels in its downstream course are managed by a new power for the first time, the political tensions are rising to a breaking point. The cradle of civilization is facing its most profound test in the 21st century. The fundamental question at the heart of this conflict is one that will define our future on a changing planet. Who truly owns a river? Is it the country where the rain falls and the river begins its journey? Or the country downstream where millions of people depend on its water to drink and survive? There are no easy answers here, only difficult choices with monumental consequences. Tell me your side in the comments. And if you want to explore more stories where history and the modern world collide, be sure to subscribe to Roam Relique. Thanks for watching.